this is cool. So quick intro. So I'm Harrison. I'm the founder and CEO of Joltly. We have Tyler on here, who's my co-founder and CTO, and then we have Maurice, who's the man at Wildhorse. But we've been able to work with him. I wanted to start this call real quick because he was talking about the Oklahoma-Michigan game last week, and so I'll kind of let you jump off with what you were saying. You were talking about how you guys were at the game. Start. You were talking about the hotel you were staying at. Start with that. That was a cool story.
Yeah, we were at the Noun, visiting the Noun. We live in Norman, so we were visiting the Noun, and the Friday before the Michigan game, Kirk Herbstreit walked in with his dog Peter and got to say hi to Peter, and it's cool to talk to Kirk, and I showed him a piece of family memorabilia from my grandfather. My grandfather was involved with the University of Oklahoma in the 70s and got a national championship ring. So I got to wear the national championship ring that Oklahoma got in 75 whenever they beat Michigan.
And that was in 75 when they beat
In
them.
75, yeah. And I don't think they actually played a title game in 74, but Oklahoma was still champions then.
Because back in the day, they didn't have like a national, like pre-BCS era, right? It was just like, you just played your season and
yeah, I think this was Big 8.
Yeah. Because I grew up in Colorado, and so I think about the year it was Colorado, and then I went to BYU, and I know for both of those schools, BYU, when they won the national championship, and I want to say it was Steve Young, I believe. I want to say it was like, I want to say 78 or maybe 88. I think
84.
84. Yeah, you're right. It was 1984. And I think they co-shared it with another team. I can't remember who they beat Michigan in like their last game of the year. Michigan still seems to be a common theme here. And then Colorado, 98, they won it. And I think that was with Cordell Stewart, I want to say, when he was a quarterback in 98. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. Just it's so much different now with the 12-team playoff. But I think the playoff is so sick. It makes watching college football. Honestly, I like college more than pro. It's just fun to go and watch. Did you grow up in Oklahoma as an Oklahoma fan, or because it sounds like
I grew up in Tulsa, went to public school in Tulsa, right in Midtown, and then went to the University of Tulsa for energy management, and I graduated from the University of Tulsa in 2012. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that energy management program is kind of just like a generic petroleum land management degree.
And that was from OU that you did that?
No, TU, University of Tulsa.
Okay. Did you ever go to OU, or were you just raised
not.
a fan?
I did not go to OU.
What was your wife's connection with OU?
She was a cheerleader there.
Yeah.
Yep. She was national champion cheerleader. They're on the all-girl squad.
That's so fun. That's
awesome.
How is the all-girl squad? They just don't have the guys doing the lifts for them. Is that how it's different?
Correct. Yeah, and she was actually a base, so she was doing the lifts.
She's strong.
She's doing all the heavy lifting.
Yes, she still does.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious. I mean, maybe that's a good intro. Maybe you could just kind of share a little bit more about kind of what you guys are doing now at Wildhorse, kind of how you got involved in the oil and gas industry. Maybe just share a little bit more about your history, just kind of career overall, and just kind of different steps you've taken.
Yeah. So I got involved in the industry pretty early on, just from family involvement. I'm fourth generation in the industry. My family had a tailor shop in downtown Tulsa in 1920s era, and then they started getting into pipe and slowly got into operating oil and gas wells. And those wells were in North Tulsa, the Sperry area, and then up in the Osage County, and then the Central Kansas Uplift. And they started doing that in 1930s. And my grandfather got involved, and then he had taken over in the 50s. And he kind of just, had a little operating company and did some non-op here and there. So that's kind of what I grew up around, was going up to Osage County. And in high school and college summers, I would roust about in Osage County.
That was some great experience.
It was fun.
And so
hands-on for sure.
So when you did that, when did you kind of start? Was Wildhorse the first company that you were like,
No, so after I graduated in 2012, I went to work for an independent land brokerage where I was just kind of doing my own thing, buying and flipping leases and minerals early on, and then got married and had my daughter and needed health insurance. So I decided to go in house somewhere.
Yeah.
And I went to the Nichols brothers. And the Nichols brothers are not around anymore, but they were a pretty big operator. They had some pretty big units in Oklahoma and East Texas and Northern Delaware Basin. While I was there, I managed their non-op portfolio of about 500 wells that they had across Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, and Louisiana. And that was my first experience with an operator outside of the family business.
And tell me more about your role there. Was it, so you're doing non-op stuff? Was that just a lot of just making sure all the jibs were paid and checking on production?
Yeah, it was a lot of coding jibs. You know, the accounts would walk by the cube and drop off a stack of jibs to code. I mean, it was exactly that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was flipping through jibs and writing the codes on them, doing everything manually, no stamps or no stickers or anything to do it. Just my sloppy handwriting, signing off on things.
That's awesome. And then were the inflows and the outflows, it was probably just all checks and writing checks and receiving checks.
Yeah. At that time, at that company, we were using SSI.
Yeah.
Which SSI is, fairly old. It's still in business and it's still a good product for a lot of smaller shops.
Greg Archibald, I think his dad started.
Yeah, with Greasebook. And we're Greasebook customers as well, and Greasebook has been really good to us.
Yeah, no, Greg's awesome. I've had all my interactions with him have been awesome. We use him as well for our operator. That's cool. So Wildhorse is or is not a family business with you guys?
It is a family office, yes.
So it's a family office, got it.
And Wildhorse was started in 1986 by Neil Sisson, who's no longer with us, and his son, Brady, is running it as president now.
Okay, so Brady's the one who runs it, and you work with Brady now.
Exactly.
And so how was that transition going from, how has your role changed from what you were doing with?
Well, I've had a couple of other roles since then. After the Nichols brothers, I went to Nadel and Gussman, which is another private family operator, the largest oil company you've never heard of, is what a lot of people like to call it. But just small independent operator, started out in Oklahoma and had some big Permian assets that they had sold to Marathon, really, really active in northern Louisiana, and then some legacy assets through Kansas and western Oklahoma. And I was kind of a hybrid employee there, worked on the family office stuff, and then also worked on the new ventures team as well, where we raised some money with Post Oak out of Houston to go drill Haynesville wells. And that was a good project. After that, I went to Exponent Energy, where I was vice president of business development and helped with a couple of acquisitions over there. And then Brady and I partnered up in 2022. 2022. And we've been together since.
One of the things that I've found interesting is, like, as I've talked to different people about Joltly and people coming in and to look at kind of what we're doing on the AI automation side, is like the process of explaining the product is very different depending on the demographic I'm talking to. And so, like, you have these cohorts in the oil and gas industry where it's like you have the guys who are like my age, who are really young, who are just kind of getting into it. And then you have, like, I'd say like the step above, which is people who are younger for the industry in their 30s or 40s and just kind of like navigating a lot of and then you have the industry vets. And I've found that a lot of the people in the 30s to 40s cohort, they're the ones who like are looking for solutions they've seen the way things have been done. Like, this sucks. And like looking for ways to automate the different processes. I'd be curious if you could talk a little about what you guys were doing before Joltly with, and I guess I should have given a little more context. Is so our platform is a AI automation tool for invoices, and so we take invoices, process them, and then we kick them into the accounting system. Um, but if you could talk about kind of what your guys' process was before and kind of like what it looks like now, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So whenever I got involved with Wildhorse, we had our office in Ardmore, which is still in existence now. It's just, a little bit smaller today than it was, but we were using Avatar um, for oil and gas accounting. And we had 5 employees up there who were kind of handling everything for us. And there was a lot of just repeat processes. It's just the generation. They got everything done that they needed to get done. It's just, if you wanted to scale, there had to be some type of new software or automation or something that you had to implement in order to scale because they were pretty well tapped out.
Yep.
They had no problems getting the things done that they were doing, but if we wanted to onboard an asset, that was never going to happen
Yeah.
with the way that things were getting done. Just a funny example that everybody knows, everybody deals with some of these employees where they print something and then they scan it to you and then they email it to you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that was going on
Yes.
where you're kind of you're the recipient of it, and then whenever I was down there watching it happen, it was just kind of like you're beating your head against the wall. And that's our industry, though. It's not special to that office by any means. And I think that that's where Joltly kind of ties everything in and helps automate a lot of those processes that we were seeing people spend so much time on.
It's fun. It makes me laugh just because when I first came in to help run energy investments, which is our family business, that's how Joltly got started. Is I came in as I needed a better tool for myself because I was beating my head against the wall. I was looking at the processes that were in place for how things had been done. I was like, I'm going to spend 50% of my time just doing back office administrative work. And I know there was tools. My background had been in tech. So I knew like industries outside of oil and gas. I knew there's tools that existed that did it, but none of them worked. And so I was just like, I need an easy way to like track bills and track payments, like have more time and transparency and just be able to see who's getting paid, how they're getting paid, when they're getting paid, and just like the ability to have the transparency, have it be automated and just all be in one place has been such a lifesaver for me. But also just like sometimes I just kind of laugh when like I look at the processes that were in place before. And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, we can really do 10 times better than what's in place.
Yeah, so we had decided to outsource and we switched from Avatar. We had signed up with a local oil and gas outsourcing company who had, a really great team here. It just ended up being a little bit overkill for us, but it took us some time to figure that out and to figure out, what our niche was going to be and what we were really going to need as far as support staff.
Yeah.
And we switched everything from Avatar over to OG That was the sequel version, I believe it was sequel version of Quorum. And we had moved everything over. I scraped everything out of the old one and we got everything built out in OG And that was great. It was working really well. There were a lot of processes that, whenever you're outsourcing, you're getting billed hourly. So it's not like, if you need somebody, if it's a busy time of year and you need somebody to stay until 6 or 7 o'clock, you're paying dearly for it.
Yeah.
To have them do it. It's a much different conversation than, having an in-house team.
Yes. 1000%.
And then whenever we had left outsourcing, we decided to upgrade everything to ODA.
Yep.
And that's whenever we did that transition. That was we started that in March and April, and that transition was basically seamless. We had got on with ODA. And before, our invoicing process, we were using Open Invoice with the outsourcing group. And there were some great things about Open Invoice, but it definitely wasn't a complete product for like what it could be, and especially with what technology is now.
Yep.
And yeah, I like that I could view all of the invoices and it stored all the images for me, and I could code everything, within the interface on there. And, you had to pay an arm and a leg to have it talk to ODA,
Yeah. Yep.
and whenever you have that type of connection, I don't know what the difference between the connection that they were using versus the API connect that you guys use.
Yeah.
But it's just very different. And it's a inverse product. And
Yep.
that's the high dollar stuff.
What was your guys' main goal in switching from our Open Invoice to Joltly? How'd you guys find us? Kind of what was that process like? And what was the onboarding process like from your old process to using Jolt?
Well, so I think how I found you guys, so I'm pretty active on the EFT group
Was it
on
Twitter?
X.
Yeah, it was X.
And that's a energy finance Twitter. And I've been really involved with that for probably I think since 2019. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you were running targeted ads or if you've ever ran targeted ads or where I found this thing, because, after, you and I have talked and seen like where you guys are in the startup phase and everything, I don't feel like I should have found you guys as easy as I would.
Yeah.
And the timing of whenever we found you guys was just perfect, where we were kind of, trying to figure out what we were going to do to get away from Open Invoice, and, how lean can we stay? And, are we going to have to, cut down our chart of accounts and not have as many, different codes for things? Are we going to have to start, lumping stuff up, or,
Yeah.
what are our options here? And then I saw Joltly, and I think I just filled out the web
On the
questionnaire or whatever, the online thing on your website, and was like, "Hey, call me."
the Calendly link. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was literally just that. And I think within like 3 or 4 days, you had stood us up and we were completely connected to our ODA
Yeah.
database, and our chart of accounts were mapping, our wells were mapping, and everything was going. And we worked through obviously some changes whenever we were in there. We were pretty aggressively testing the system. You guys were able to make some changes for us really, really quick. And some of them were changes and some of them were just additions of like, hey, as an operator, here are things that I use in ODA that I want you to be able to bring over through the API back to Joltly. And that was really good. I mean, it's the customer service side of it is a huge part of it, especially whenever I was trying to get a hold of somebody at Open Invoice. I think I went through 6 different people to try and just like talk to somebody about our account.
Yeah.
And that was just like painful.
And I think that's an inherent advantage of all startups, right? Because we can be so lean, like we're able to have amazing customer support, because I'll just I give all my customers all my personal phone number. They'll text me if anything comes up and we hop on and we take care of it as fast as we can. And it's nothing, I don't think it's even like the fault of Open Invoice. It's just because they're such a big company, like they just have their processes in place. And that's an inherent advantage that all startups have, is speed, as they're just able to grow and communicate with customers in a way you just never could.
And really, and that's what we need. Just being a small operator, this business is very much like when you need something, you needed it yesterday.
Yeah.
Or it's hurry up and wait. And for you guys to be able to get everything updated as fast as you were able to, it was really, really helpful for sure in the transition process.
No, I love to hear it. It's fun to I think the most rewarding part about kind of what we're doing is just being able to provide value where you know that like you're actually helping out the businesses you're working with and you're making their lives easier. And for me, like that's a very fulfilling part of it. I think as we kind of like a couple more questions for you is like what as you've used Joltly, like what features have stood out? Like what's been the most beneficial for you?
What has been the most beneficial for us? Where our largest asset is, we were probably processing, you know, anywhere between 200 and 250 invoices a
Yeah.
month in open invoice. And I think that that's the way that they charge it out is they load the hopper at the end of every month and kind of like pre-buy open it or invoices for you to be able to submit kind of thing. We've got a lot of really small vendors that we use that are just like, a husband and wife duo, a
Yeah.
husband who drives, a water truck for
Yep.
us and the wife does the invoicing or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And honestly, the open invoice process it wasn't super friendly to get the vendors. That they have to be approved and they have to go through, a process on their side where with you guys just using the email address and we actually bring everything into our accounts payable mailbox and then we you know, basically verify that it's legit, and then we forward it to the Joltly email address. And that has been really, really nice for our vendors. We've gotten really good feedback from everybody on that process has been really good.
Awesome.
That's great.
As we kind of wrap up, I think like one of the just talking about like your team generally, like where do you see Wild Horse going in the next few years? Kind of what is your guys' goals as an operator and as a team, and what do you how do you think AI and Joltly and all that can play a role in automating and helping your guys' workflows?
We have a pretty good sized mineral portfolio as well that I think that on the revenue side, as Joltly continues to grow and build out its revenue processing module, that's going to be something that we're really interested in that, slowly moves us away from EnergyLink too. Downloading invoices from EnergyLink, we'll have, a small decimal interest in, a Conoco well in New Mexico, and it'll be, $20 for that well for the month, but the invoice is 120 pages,
Yeah.
and you're paying, per line on
Yeah.
that with the Energy Link stuff. And I think that all of that is going to get automated. I think from a Wild Horse organization standpoint, we're opportunistic and prices being what they are right now. There's probably some good buys out there too. But if you're an operator, you're just trying to hang on right now through these prices.
Yeah. And just steady the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's feedback that we hear pretty consistently from our and customers. It's just they're just looking for they just need partners who want where it feels like their best and they want the best interest of their customers, where it's not like there's putting them in a stranglehold to use their products. It's really a mutually beneficial relationship where the customers feel like the process is transparent, they know they're getting a fair deal, and they know it's going to work. And that's one thing that we really strive for. I think kind of as we wrap up, I don't know if I did much of an intro, so I'll kind of just finish with that. Is so my background originally was as tech, and so I was in the tech world with the oil, with actually working with a lot of companies out here in Utah. There's been a lot of financial technology companies that have been really successful, and so while I was at Brigham Young University, I was able to kind of get a lot of exposure to that and see what a successful fintech looks like. When I graduated in 2023, I came in to help run our family business, Energy Investments. And while I was running that, I just saw how broken the processes were. And I just knew there was a better way to do it. And then through all that, I brought on Tyler. Tyler, I'll let you share a little bit about your background in the industry as well. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, actually started out in the industry as a geologist for Crown Quest Operating, a small operator in West Texas. Lived in Midland for the last 10 years. And so I just Crown Quest was acquired by Occidental Petroleum, and so I was there for a year and just quit Oxy to join Harrison on Joltly, and actually worked originally as a geologist, but switched early on in my career to software development. So I have a lot of experience with software, specifically in oil and gas. And like we were saying, a lot of the technology, a lot of the programs, a lot of the applications in oil and gas is just kind of either old or super expensive. And so that's kind of how I got started as a software developer, was because there was a need for a specific problem, and the company I worked for at the time had me fill that role. So now that I've moved on from that, I'm excited to be working with Harrison and Joltly.
And Maurice, we had you kind of give your intro at the beginning, and so I just want to make sure we wrapped up. I think we forgot to do that when we started, but just want to finish saying we're grateful for you for jumping on this call. You guys have been an awesome partner for us, and we're excited to keep building with you guys, and it'll be fun. I'm excited to see what we're able to do. We're going to do a lot of damage in back office in terms of just making, in a good way, just making everything really efficient, which will be awesome. Maurice, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I think as a user of Joltly, I'm going to keep trying to break it every time I use it.
Good.
And have you
Bring it
guys
on.
add as much as I can on it.
No,
Those are real value adds for us. So we appreciate you trying to break it early on, at least.
No,
Do it
we
sooner than later.
talking to our customers every day is like the most important thing we can do. Is just having that line of communication. When we talk to our customers and potential customers, they always bring up like, hey, like you guys are a startup, like where are you guys at in the process? And what I always tell them is like, as a startup, like, yeah, we're gonna run into stuff, but we get it fixed. Like we have a constant line of communication. We're always working with our customers to get things going. Through that process, you'll get the best customer experience, customer service you could ask for, and work really closely with us as the founders to get it up and going. And so, Maurice, really appreciate your time. I'm excited for the rest of the college football season. I'll be cheering for Oklahoma. Yeah, down the way. It would be fun at some point. I know Tyler and I are planning trips to Texas and Oklahoma at some point, so it'd be fun to grab lunch in person at some point here.
Okay. Well, we'll see you soon.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. We'll see ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks,
See ya.
Maurice.